Hong Kong. Now here's a city that defines hustle and bustle. As a tourist, it's easy to get caught up in all the shopping and sightseeing. But after umpteen markets and malls, you'll soon need a break from the bargain hunting. And what better way to relax than over a nice cup of tea? Ah, now that's more like it. Hong Kong is full of tea houses, but no tour would be complete without a visit to the Luk Yu Tea House on Stanley Street. It's one of the oldest in the city and is a favorite hangout of William Mark, a local food columnist.
Tea house is very much like the cafe in France. I think that the tea house has been existing for more than 1,000 years. Well, at first, it's nothing more than a roadside place serving tea for the traveler.
Like most traditional Chinese tea houses, Luk Yu also serves dim sum, a Cantonese style of breakfast or lunch. It comes in bamboo baskets and the choice is yours. There's everything from barbecued pork buns to steamed dumplings. The act of eating dim sum is called yum cha, which literally means to drink tea, because you can't have one without the other. A Chinese tea house is definitely the home of the bottomless pot. Just leave the lid off and a waiter will be around in no time to fill it up. Most patrons drink semi-fermented tea, sao mei, but green tea is also popular.
Lots of people, they make a mistake of caffeinating up. Green tea is so delicate, it cannot stand high temperature. You have to make it with warm water instead of boiling water. And keep the lid open so it would not ruin the freshness of the tea.
There's a fair amount of etiquette when it comes to tea drinking. You needn't say thank you for a top-up, just remember to tap your fingers on the table after it's poured. Over on Queen's Road, I discovered the perfect place to brush up on my tea time manners, the Nagang Ki Hung Tea Company. Owner Tony Nagang began learning the tea business from his father when he was just 13 years old. Besides running the shop, he now lectures on the art of the perfect brew, with Chu Chow Kung Fu tea, that is. This calls for a small teapot and cups, but lots of tea, at least a third of the pot. And here's how not to pour the tea. Notice the different colors in each cup? The correct way is to circle around, pouring a little at a time until each cup is full. And when holding the cup, whatever you do, use your third finger, not your index finger.
It's a matter of politeness, because when you hold it with the third finger, when you drink, the second finger sort of cover your mouth, so the person sitting opposite you cannot see your mouth.
So far, our tea house tour has focused on Hong Kong Island, but let's catch the Star Ferry across the harbor to Kowloon. In Temple Street Night Market, you'll find a herbal tea house with remedies for coughs, cold, the flu, you name it. Now, herbal brews are not everyone's cup of tea. For taste buds craving something a little more Western, worry not. The British might have left Hong Kong, but here at the Peninsula Hotel, they've certainly left their mark on the tea scene. Pastries, sandwiches, scones, it's all part of the afternoon tea service. And this is one of the best places to people watch in all of Hong Kong. A simple cup of tea. Who would have guessed it could lead to some of Hong Kong's most charming establishments, not to mention offer such insight into its range of culinary heritage. Most visitors come to Hong Kong for the urban attractions, and yes, many get their exercise in the markets. But here's a little known fact. Country parks make up about 3/4 of the city's land. This is Hong Kong's greener side, and it's well worth exploring. Hiking is a popular pastime, and there are several long-distance trails. For some great coastal scenery, the Hong Kong Trail stretches for 50 kilometers.
Well, I just love coming here because it's so beautiful, just really peaceful. You got the ocean over here and the hills. You just never think you're in Hong Kong. It's really great. So I come up running with the dogs and that's it. It's beautiful.
The 100-kilometer Mackley Host Trail, named after one of the former governors, is the longest trail. Sai Kung Country Park in the New Territories is one of the best spots to hook up with it. On a Sunday morning, this park is also the place to take in some local forms of exercise. You might even be invited to a Chinese barbecue. Squid balls, anyone? Tourists aren't the only ones to make Hong Kong their stopover destination. Every winter, thousands of migratory birds touch down in Mai Po in the New Territories. These marshes and mudflats cover 300 hectares and attract about 270 bird species. With a special permit from the World Wildlife Fund, you can tour this fragile ecosystem.
The main feeding area for most of these migratory birds when they come down here is the intertidal mudflats out in Deep Bay, and when the tide goes out, this mudflat is heaving with mudskippers, crabs, worms and so on. And when the tide comes in, then it slowly pushes all the birds right up against the shoreline, as it were, so the feeding area gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And because of this, we've actually built a number of bird watching hides on the edges of the mangroves. So when the tide comes in and it sort of pushes the bird closer and closer to the mangroves, then it means visitors can have a very unique chance to see literally thousands of birds at very, very close quarters.
You don't have to be a hardcore ecotourist to get a thrill out of dolphin watching, especially when you're spotting rare pink dolphins. Also known as Chinese white dolphins, there are about 250 living in Hong Kong's harbor. But life is not always easy for these guys.
Yeah, the dolphins like to follow fishing boats because there's not as much fish available as there used to be for them, and it's basically an easy feed for them. So the fishermen will go where the dolphins are and vice versa. The problem is the dolphins often get caught up in fishing nets, and it's a major operation to disentangle cetaceans from nets, and sometimes there's nothing you can do to help them. And just like us, if they can't come up to breathe, they do drown. So the idea of following a fishing boat is a double-edged sword, really, for the dolphins. They get a free feed, but they're risking their lives.
Even Hong Kong's downtown core is more than skyscrapers, streets, and shopping. Hong Kong Park is a great place to rest your feet and enjoy a slice of life.
What is so unique about this place is that it is right in the center of the city in Central District, and among all